Hey everybody! This week on Ask Chris, I'm talking about menstruation, so I brought along a very special friend of mine, Mildred the Menstrual Cup. Mildred, thank you so much for coming. Thank you! Mildred, you don't need to interrupt. I'm just introducing. Well, I got a few things to say. Mildred, I don't understand why you keep Well, that's what periods do. They interrupt your life. I just realized that I'm what? I'm the one making you talk. Again, this week's Ask Kristen question is coming from some questions of yours, some questions of mine, which, by the way, I realize this gesture without words means that I'm losing my mind, and also things happening on the internet. Specifically, I want to talk about, should girls be proud of their periods? When it comes to menstruation-related questions from Stuff Mom Never Told You fans, like you wonderful viewers, usually they have more to do with taboos and stigma rather than pride. For instance, Bethany Falcon asked me a long time ago, why is talking about menstrual periods so taboo? And when a girl or woman is being a bitch, why is it assumed she's on her period? But I want to talk about being proud of periods because of something happening on the internet. MIA drummer Kiran Gandhi recently ran the London Marathon on her period and without any kind of tampon or menstrual cup or maxi pad. She took photos and she documented it and she wrote this whole long blog post about it over at Medium, and the whole thing went viral because here is a photo of a woman with menstrual blood all over her crotch area having just won the London Marathon, and she made so many great points about how we are socialized to pretend that periods don't exist and how a lot of times menstruation is portrayed as something that weakens the female body. It's part of this broader trend that I've been observing delightedly of period pride. Caroline and I did an entire Stuff Mom Never Told You podcast about it, where we cite all sorts of examples that really started popping up in the past few years. All sorts of art projects, either using actual menstrual blood or simulating menstrual blood with delightful things like red glitter, that have since gone viral on the internet. People posting photos on Instagram of menstrual stains that Instagram, of course, removed, and then the photographers were like, of course you would remove it because we are censoring women's bodies, and it sparks this whole conversation. If you don't believe that period pride is alive and well, go check out the Twitter hashtag #LiveTweetYourPeriod, because that is now a thing. On the one hand, reclaiming and reframing menstruation as something potentially empowering, something you can publicly get excited about if you want to, and bond over, is a really cool idea. I just realized that nothing makes something sound uncooler than calling it cool. So cool. But on the other hand, it raises questions of, to what extent do we promote period pride? At some point, does it become just compelling women to emote in a certain kind of way, the menstrual brand of telling women on the street to smile? Does it send an exclusionary message to trans women saying, hey, if you don't get periods, then you're not really part of our girl gang? Or if you're a biological female who simply doesn't get periods by virtue of things like hormonal birth control, like the IUD, which means you haven't had a period in like 4 years and it's awesome. Does that mean we're less in touch with our own bodies and femininity? Amanda Hess made a really thought-provoking observation about this whole thing over at Slate.com in September 2013. She said, quote, menstruation has been stigmatized as gross and embarrassing for so long. It's only natural to want to fight back with roaring pride. But trumping up the act of menstruating as a, quote, source of power only gives fuel to the detractors who hope to define us by our bodies. Personally, I don't think this is actually a yes or no kind of answer in terms of should girls be proud of their periods. It's not black and white, it's red all over. I think it's fine if people want to personally embrace their menstruation and live tweet it if they want to, and make artwork and go running without a tampon if they really need to. But I wonder, as the crimson wave of period pride swells, if it is also effectively dismantling these broader cultural period taboos, which are really the things that I feel like need to come down. Historically and presently, periods and the bloating, cramping, and assumed mood swings that go along with them have been used as bloody scapegoats, for lack of a more delicate phrasing, to label women incompetent and unreliable. Whereas men experience mood swings? No. Are men like regularly bloated and cramping? Probably not. Listen, I'm gonna make a radical suggestion and say that the extra time men spend pooping probably evens out to any extra time that women have to spend in the bathroom because of periods. It's gonna make at least one person really mad. Now I wanna know what you think about all this period pride happening with menstrual art and live tweeting your period and running without tampons. Let me know in the comments below. Do you think that people who menstruate should be proud of it? Thanks to everybody who watched and commented on last week's Ask Kristen video. Is there a best way to reject a guy? And whoo boy, those comments let me know that I probably need to do a follow-up video on how to take no for an answer. Julia Pashremus said, the other day some guy asked me for my number, and when I said I had a boyfriend, he literally asked me for photographic proof. Was I supposed to say, you caught me, I'm actually single, here's my number for your persistence? Or, you're right, you're much cuter than my boyfriend, screw that guy. Sorry, but the world doesn't work that way. Isabel commented, so often when you have to use the I have a boyfriend line, the guy gets really aggressive, one even saying to me, well, he shouldn't have let you out if he didn't want people hitting on you. Suddenly, with the engagement ring, people approach me a lot less, and when they do, I've never had anyone respond to me in that aggressive or persistent way after telling them I'm engaged. Usually, they'll apologize, say congratulations, and walk away. But it makes me wonder, what is so different between being in a committed relationship and having a ring on your finger that suddenly translates into respect? In those situations, that ring isn't translating into respect for you, but rather the guy who bought it. Now, dear friends, leave me all of your questions so I can give you some answers.